what I would refer to as the three R's, right? So we have, what are we doing for referrals? What are we doing for reactivations? And then what are we doing for our community relationships?
Hey, Pat and Doug here with another episode of The Wealthy Fitness Entrepreneur. And today we are going to talk marketing as it relates to building out your ideal business model. So, Doug, get us started.
So marketing, we can go 100 different directions here. For my brain, I would start with, let's just make sure we have a plan, right? And we can unpack what that plan is. But I think, that's where I always start. If I'm working with a gym owner and we want to unpack marketing, it's like, okay, well, certainly let's talk about what you have done or have not done, but let's build out a monthly plan of, what are we going to be executing on marketing, and be proactive with our marketing, right? When we talk to business owners, it's often like, how do you get clients? And the famous two are word of mouth and referrals. And although those are great, right, we can certainly, hope that we get a good word of mouth and decent referrals. But personally, I don't want to just rely on that, because that's very kind of reactive, and I'm waiting for other people to make decisions rather than, trying to be much more proactive and have a plan to attract clients. So that's where I would start is let's build out a monthly plan to market and generate clients, not just kind of fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, I mean, I think that somewhere along the way, I probably got positioned as somebody who really, really loved marketing or whatever else. And frankly, I just enjoy connecting with the right people and getting to work with them as clients. And I think of marketing as constructing a consistent plan to do that. And so by having a plan like you alluded to, I mean, you're essentially putting some guardrails in place or some constraints in place, so we know, okay, this is what we're doing to connect with new people or generate leads or whatever your, I think preferred terminology is. How are we moving those people from now aware of us and so mutually aware of one another, right? So there, at some point, there are businesses in every market that are invisible to each of us, and we're invisible to them. So we have to create awareness, and then we have to gain permission to follow up with them. It doesn't matter if it's an opt-in for your guest pass or your lead magnet or somebody handing you a business card, right? We have to get permission to follow up with them. Then we need to have a plan to follow up, to move that kind of prospect journey along. I think a lot of people talk about the customer or client journey, but there's that kind of before the tipping point where somebody becomes a client, there's a prospect journey. And it's from awareness to permission-based lead to, now they're a prospect. We're following up with them, and then we want to get them in the door to experience what we do. I think that, as we've talked about in different episodes, some sort of consultative sales should be a piece of that. But there are different ways to bake a consultative sales process into something. I mean, you can have an assessment that bolts onto that. You can have, if you train athletes, you can have some sort of performance evaluation. You can have some sort of trial membership. Some people even do a low cost, low barrier membership or I guess front end offer, if you will, and bake the consultative sale for the ongoing program into that as well. But so if you think about, okay, I've got a monthly marketing plan. Here's what I'm trying to accomplish with that plan. I need this many people to come through and arrive, at my front door. So I would say that one other thing that I know I've observed you do that I think that all the best business owners do is they have an idea of, okay, I've got a plan, but I need to know what success is in executing the plan. So how many clients do I need a month? How many people do I need to have in that consultative sales session each month to hit that client number? And so then we can kind of reverse engineer and work our way out and say, okay, well, how many leads do I need? And we can go into our different lead generation channels to hit that number. So do you want to maybe unpack what a monthly marketing plan might look like in your business?
Sure. So, I think that's a good point on the goal, right? So it's like, why do we market? Obviously, it's to acquire clients, but a marketing plan, if you need to go get 10 clients, is different than if you need to go get 20 or if you only need five, right? What you need to do for marketing for each of those. So if we start with, okay, we have our natural churn. So how many people do you lose a month? How many people do you want to actually net in a month? And a lot of that's going to be based upon your business, how much you can operationally handle, how many you can service, in a given week or month new, because it is, certainly being in a service business, you can't just, we've seen it break. You can't just go add 20 clients in a week. It's most likely going to break your business and fill your sessions and really cause some operational stress. So getting clear on, okay, I lose three a month. I want to gain five this month. So I need to actually sign up eight if I factor in my churn. Well, I close, roughly 80% of the people that I sit with. So I probably need to sit with 10, right? I need to sit down with 10 people. Then we can figure out, okay, well, in order to sit down with 10 people in that consultative sales environment, how many leads do I actually need? And so getting clear on that every month, I think is huge. And I didn't want to, I wanted to kind of double down on that because that is huge. As far as components of the monthly marketing plan, I would always break it down into three different buckets. Bucket number one is what we're doing online, right? What we're doing for online marketing, whether that's paid or unpaid. And then bucket number two is your offline stuff, kind of your guerrilla style marketing. And then often forgotten about is internal marketing. What are you doing internally with your current clients to market to them, to not only keep them excited, but potentially getting them to upgrade and spend more within your business? So if we first unpack the online stuff, some basic things we like to see in place for gym owners is, let's certainly make sure you have your evergreen offer on your website, whether that's, your 14-day free trial or your 7-day guest pass, or fill in the blank. Think if somebody walked in your door today and they wanted to try it out, they didn't want to sign up for membership yet. They said, hey, I want to try it out. What do you have to offer? You always want to have something as your kind of evergreen, like you can get started today on this offer. For your athletes, it could be that assessment. For the adults, usually some short duration free trial tends to work well. We want to have that on our website. And then if you are able to drive some ad spend to it, Facebook and Instagram, we do see success for having that kind of free offer promoted just at a low level, 365 days a year. Honestly, frankly, even if it's not generating a ton of leads, we were always able to get it to generate a lead or two a day consistently. So it was never a home run, but it was just, consistent, a lead or two every day. So that would be one, is like, what's your evergreen offer and how are you putting that out there digitally? Of course, we would have to speak about, what are we doing for our emails? So staying consistent with our 3 times a week email. And we would always every month schedule two, in addition to the 3 times a week. So let's call that your 12 basic emails. We would always schedule 2 engagement style emails. And, for those that aren't aware, the goal of the engagement email, it's short, it's punchy, it's usually a question or something like that. The goal is to get them to reply, right? The goal is simply to get them to reply. And then now you have that conversation that could potentially lead to conversion. So scheduling your 2 engagement emails along with your 12 kind of base value building newsletters, I think is a good baseline. Pair that with your evergreen offer. And then, the last thing I would say online is, if you do want to run something deadline driven in that month, and you don't have to do it every single month, but the evergreen stuff, again, I think of that as your base. And if you need 15, 20 clients, you're probably going to also need to run something deadline driven. If you only want, 5 clients, 8 clients, you may be able to just get away with your emails and your evergreen offer being out there. And, we'll talk about the offline stuff in a second, some offline stuff. But if you need a higher volume, you're probably going to also need to pick a deadline driven offer each month because, that has a specific start date, typically, some urgency and scarcity to it. And so you're able to, whether it be through ad spend and or emails, promote a specific start date of a program, which can typically get an influx of enrollment compared to more of that evergreen style. So that's what I would start with as the basic online strategy.
I think there was something that was kind of woven in there that a lot of people probably ignore or maybe kind of just turn a deaf ear to is, I mean, you talked about having a free offer, and what's your average monthly value per client?
300.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people almost default to saying, okay, free attracts people who are not going to be willing to invest a higher price, and obviously, um, you know, there there are higher prices than $300 a month, but we're talking about small group training, which that's a really I think a really solid average monthly revenue for a small group training client, and you have been consistently able to attract people with a free offer as a piece of your puzzle, not the entire thing. I mean, it's not like there haven't been paid offers too, but I think it's important that people understand that what's great is if you're crafting a marketing plan, you can use different tools, and you don't necessarily have to just shun one thing because you think it may not work. I mean, you test it and keep tweaking it, and potentially it does work. I know in your business that's worked in a market where I mean, I think a lot of people just assume that, hey, these people paying a higher price will be more discerning. They're going to kind of turn their nose up at free, and that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I think it's all how you position it, and I think it's all your expectation that, if you run, let's say, a sweepstakes, like a campaign we would always run twice a year is we would give away a 3-month membership to somebody, right? And we'd run ads to it, we run emails to it, and you enter to win, and the winner's drawn on X date. It's a modern day lead box, right? And, I would always hear comments from other gym owners that would run that same campaign, like, oh, a lot of the leads didn't convert. Well, of course, but you also generated like 150 leads compared to 15. And so some of this is understanding the buying cycle of a prospect or lead, in that those leads, may come in on that and they may not buy, but now they're on your email list, and now you can communicate with them and nurture them and warm them up, and maybe they end up buying this summer or this fall. So understanding that, to some degree with some of that stuff, you're also playing the long game. And then of course, yeah, like we can't assume, Costco just opened up in my neighborhood a couple towns over. And so in Maine, like having a Costco is like a new thing. So everybody's been like swarming Costco. And if one of their things that they do is the free samples. And my wife drops like $500 right now every time she walks into Costco. So it doesn't mean that just because they're giving away free samples that you're not going to spend money. So I think it's a great example of like free does not always mean cheap. So agree with that. As far as the offline stuff goes, I would always simplify it in what I would refer to as the 3 R's, right? So we have, what are we doing for referrals? What are we doing for reactivations? And then what are we doing for our community relationships, right? Our JVs, our other kind of community-based businesses. So for referrals, it's pretty simple. Just have a strategic way to ask every month. And you do have to mix it up because the ask can get, it's frankly just putting it in a different wrapping paper. Sometimes it might be handing out guest passes to clients at the end of sessions saying, hey, we're looking to take on a couple more clients. If you have a friend or family member that would like to join you for a week, here's a 7-day guest pass. Sometimes it's running a bring a friend week or a bring a coworker week where they're able to, bring somebody into their session. Sometimes it's just manual outreach, and we would often pull lists of clients and just shoot them a text and say, hey, we love working with you. Is there anybody else that you would, think would be a good fit here? So having one referral strategy every month and, just rotating it. You're not going to do a bring a friend week every single month, but you may do that, 3 or 4 times a year. And then during the other months, you run a different referral strategy. But I think the take home with that would be every month there is a referral strategy going on. Same thing, very similar on the reactivations. If you're listening to this podcast, you're not new to business. And so you most likely have a list of clients that are former clients, a list of trials that are former trials that did not convert, a list of leads that did never, signed up for anything. And so having a reactivation campaign every month where again, maybe it's a 14-day reset, you invite them in. Maybe it's manual. When we had Acquired a Month, we would literally print those lists out and just pick up the phone and call them and try to reconnect with them on the phone. So having a plan for reactivation each month is certainly valuable. And then to wrap up the 3 R's, I would say, what are you doing this month for the relation, building that relationship in the community? It could be, stopping by the local business and dropping off a fruit basket with some gift cards for the employees. It could be, we would always try to JV with the, like-minded businesses, like a physical therapist that wants to offer a workshop, or, the sports. We have like a high-end sports store that does retail clothing and shoes and things like that. And they would come in and set up displays and give our clients coupons for purchases there. Anything that you have each month. I think that the goal with the 3 R's is that there's one strategy implemented a month for each of those. So it's not overwhelming. You don't feel like you have to go meet with 20 different businesses or have all these different referral strategies, but it's the consistency of each month having one of the 3 R's in place.
Yeah, and I think the relationship piece, I mean, there's so many options depending on the market that you're in. I mean, somebody can go form relationships with local PTAs. They can go do neighborhood-based marketing the same way you may see real estate agents really do neighborhood farming, basically, and build relationships with HOAs and the board or the people that manage the social events there. And then if you do have relationships with clients who live in certain communities, I mean, we found even doing things like every door direct mail, but to communities where our clients already live. So you have the ability to use some of their social proof to leverage those relationships. All of that stuff. It's all kind of saying, okay, how do we step away from just working with only a cold audience? Like there's always a warm audience that you get to work with. And I think that's what makes the relationship arm of, your offline marketing so valuable, because I think that we want higher probability. And we also, I think most of the people who are here, they're not new to business, but they don't have unlimited budgets. They don't have unlimited capacity or time. And so how do we narrow our focus? Well, let's start with the people that we know, the clients that we have, the relationships we have. And yeah, a lot of times people think in terms of referrals as the way to directly leverage the client relationships. But if a client lives in like an HOA like mine, they could certainly open doors for you in a bunch of different ways, whether it's, connecting you with the board to sponsor events, or, you could just say, okay, well, what's their address? Let's do an every door direct mail to their carrier route. And, I just think that when you start to think that way, it gives you a lot of options that fit into that plan, and you test something and now, hey, I'm filling this channel of that monthly marketing plan.
Yep. For sure. And the third bucket of the marketing plan, I would say, is often, very often forgotten about, which is this idea of what are we doing internally to get clients excited to continue. And potentially spend more, sure. But I often never had the mindset of marketing to spend more was kind of an ancillary or a secondary benefit. It was more so thinking about it as how can we keep these clients excited? And keeping them excited is going to take some marketing. And so not just signing people up and yeah, we're training them, but frankly, we always need to be reminded that for most people, fitness is not fun. And so yeah, you want to make it engaging in the workouts. But anytime you can get client engagement outside of workouts from a marketing perspective, I think not only does it, keep them a part of the community, but of course there are some times where monetary investments are required, and so you're able to generate some extra revenue from it as well. So ideas that we always have on marketing plans, not all of these every month, these are just ideas, would be things like internal challenges, right? No, no, nothing is kind of too simple. Like we've done step challenges, we've done water challenges, we've done, attendance-based challenges, trying to hit certain amount of workouts. Obviously, you have nutrition challenges that you could run. Any type of fixed duration, short challenge, it allows you to, focus on that as a community. Everybody rallies around it. We would always try to gamify it in some way. So whether that be in, a scorecard that they would track, or, March Madness was always an easy one where we could kind of do bracket style, challenges, anything like that where you can gamify the challenge. And then there are certain challenges where you may charge for it. Maybe a percentage goes to charity, or maybe we've done it where the challenge itself is free, but it's an easy opportunity to talk about a membership upgrade. So, hey, you can do the challenge for the month of March. It's totally free. However, if you're in the mindset of wanting to really get after it this month, you can upgrade your membership just for the month of March for $99. And so you get, 10, 20 people to do that, and you just made an extra couple grand, and it's not a reoccurring thing. I would never think of any of this stuff as reoccurring. It's just kind of, frankly, it just adds to your profit margin that month because you're getting some extra bump in revenue. But most importantly, it's a retention tool, right? Because the workouts are the base, but I feel like they always need something, whether it be a challenge or, we've done, if you work with general population, specifically females, things like the craft nights and the wine nights and all of those kind of social events where, again, you're usually, if we do charge, just trying to cover our costs, but it gets the community together, and it gets them together outside of the gym, or at least outside of the training hour that they work out together. And so it builds that stickiness of a community and certainly increases retention, which has a growth benefit as well. And frankly, probably more of a benefit than just acquiring another new client. So that would be the third component that I would fit in. Again, not all of that, but just one idea a month of what am I doing to get clients excited about staying here at the gym.
Which, if you think about it from a referral perspective, from an opening door, the relationship stuff, the more excited they are, the more they're going to be an advocate for you, right? So it's, yeah, we want to maximize lifetime value when it comes to a monetary sense. But if we want somebody to be an advocate for us, then it's probably not enough to just kind of do what everybody else does. And frankly, most people's default setting is let's just deliver workouts. Let's just host, our classes. And in an ever increasingly competitive marketplace, the more you can do some things internally, the more you can stand out, which that's a whole different topic for a separate time. But retention of people's attention, of their time, is increasingly challenging. And I don't think most people are fighting that battle. They're fighting a battle that was still relevant 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and this is a different battle, but this is where things are headed. So I think that don't overlook that last piece of the marketing plan if you really want to maximize your business.
For sure, for sure. The last thing I would say to wrap this up would be, the core of these three things, whether online, offline, or the internal stuff, is just be proactive in your plan. It doesn't take much to just carve out. I would always carve out an hour or two once a month and just map out the next month, right? Google Doc, April across the header, and map out what you have planned for April. And just being that proactive, having that kind of plan, you'll see the consistency of the marketing. Certainly continue that consistency, which will keep the clients flowing in at a more. We're really trying to eliminate the ups and downs that come with client acquisition. Consistent marketing plan will ideally give you consistent client growth.
Oh, very good. Well, that's marketing. We'll be back soon with another episode. Talk to you later.